Mack's family reunion comes at a heavy price. May officially becomes the team's Chronicom detector, and Jemma tells Deke all about her friend Diana. Turns out it's her fault. Jemma's forgetting everything. It's Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E., Season 7, Episode 6. Adapt or Die. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to this week's review of Agents of S.P.O.I.L.E. So yes, of course, spoilers coming your way. And as usual, check out our quick jump index system. Right in the description below, we'll have the entire review titleized, time-stamped, broken down into easily digestible chunks. You can watch the end of the review first. You can watch the beginning last. You can watch this review in any order you'd like. Alright, so, nice episode. Lots of twists and turns, a lot of unexpected directions in many ways throughout this episode. There was a lot going on, a lot of ground to cover. So, there was kind of an odd feel to me with some of the sections. Now, again, full stop, great episode, had a great time, loved the switch up, loved the dramatic ending on it, loved Phil's whole discussion with Sybil there. I mean, again, tons of fun parts in this. But some of them felt abbreviated, like the whole Daisy Daniel thing felt like it should be a bigger, meatier thing. And we had some great opening and some great like center chunk, and the end was like, boop, and it's over because we got to get going. Now, I do like the way they ended it. Very apropos in many ways. But again, it was just one of those where it felt like we had this chunky thing and then it just sort of ended there. The Jemma bit, again, we finally got our reveal what's going on, that this is an implant that she's designed in order to help suppress her own memories, names it and everything. Which again seemed to be this big buildup, especially we have this feeling from Deke that Enoch was a traitor, and then it just, in a way, sort of just, even that sort of wraps up very quickly. The Mack arc really was kind of the larger meat that had its whole arc, and then even a denouement at the end there with an unexpected Shyamalan twist. So I think that was given kind of the most energy. I think the Phil and May stuff worked itself out well, but it was just, it's a natural thing. There's a lot of stuff to cover, so everything may not always feel like it has the same weight and time to it that maybe going into what we want or sort of expect it to do. But like I said, a great amount of stuff covered, sort of wrapping things up. Phil declaring his power, getting the lowdown there from Sybil, the team jumping off. So it's, again, it sort of wrapped everything up in a nice bun. Even Sousa accepting his place there on the team. That's where he belongs for now. Was sort of great. So it, in a way, it felt like it wrapped a lot of stuff up very nicely. It was just, there was a lot going in there to deal with. So yeah, I think a good way of covering up, giving us some great moments, and leaves us to, God, what the heck is going to happen with Mack and the Deke there. All right, well, let's keep up with our current tradition and start out with our Scene of the Week for this week. And here we are talking about the interrogation scene, or more specifically, the kind of post-interrogation moment between Phil and Melinda. There's a couple of things that happen in this scene, and I think it's, one, it's a fun scene. There's a lot that happens, but more to the point, we have story here driving plot. It's a perfect tiny little example of a character moment, of a character interaction, development of story between Phil and Melinda, their sort of relationship issues, and how working that issue actually pushes the plot forward. So it's a fun bit, but it's also a great few things happening in here. basically we have in this moment, we've got, Phil finally breaking down with Melinda about you're not reacting to anything. You haven't reached out. You haven't said. It's like all of this tension between them. I mean, tension even if Melinda can't really feel emotions at the moment. That's been sort of building is released in this scene. And I know for any Melinda fans have been sort of waiting for this particular moment. And I love the direction that it goes because we have so much sort of emotional frustration. And then we've got May's sort of release on it. What is it? I love how Phil brings it up. And it's like, yes, you can't feel anything, but you haven't even told me how you think. And so May tells you, what do you think? You're not dead. You die all the time. I can't even grieve you. It's such an interesting sort of reaction to it. A frustration for Melinda. It's like, you never die. You always come back. I can never grieve you. This is your second time. It's going to be a third coming up. Even though it doesn't, I guess it sort of foreshadows that moment. But it's just sort of a great little twist of revealing of character, of sort of internal frustration, of keeping to seeing somebody who you've lost and who means something, that popping back up in these new forms and these new questions. And so, I mean, it was just sort of a great, again, little character bit. But through that interaction, through that push, obviously he gets sort of a rise out of Melinda, which is sort of a fun thing. Is it that deep connection with him that will finally be able to reach out and pull a true emotion out of her? Is this that foreshadowing that we get? Perhaps. Or more to the point, she's mimicking him, which again pushes the plot forward. Through this character moment, they realize that the Chronicoms are now mimicking people. Phil remembers the discussion on the train. We have to adapt. Again, title of the episode, Adapt or Die. They learned that he can sort of synthesize emotions. So they synthesize emotions. They copy the personality through a little brain copying dive machine there. They copy their face. Boom! Instant fake person. And by doing that, they then know, of course, that Stoner's in trouble, because Melinda is using her senses to discover another Chronicom. We'll get to that in a minute. And then, of course, Phil just sort of like, all right, crack, all right, breaks out, let's ready to go. Like, again, just waiting for direction. The only reason we're here, we can get out at any time, we're just waiting to figure out what to do. So again, very tight little scene. A lot of stuff happens. We get some Stan appreciation there. We get character evolution. And that character evolution pushes the plot, which is really the way that things should work. It makes things so much more interesting. So, yeah, like I just said, May is officially in this episode the Chronicom detector. That's why she has lost the emotions. That is the purpose of it. I mean, I guess it's kind of easy to luckily have an immediate purpose for why you have this deficiency, or something that most people would see as deficiency. Very useful. Obviously, throughout this episode, discovers that Stoner's assistant is a Chronicom, which, of course, then leads to the whole discovery the Chronicoms are copying people and that whole particular arc. Plus, later on, the whole painful reveal with Mack and his family and such. So, it just seems to be May's job now. I'm not complaining or anything. It's convenient. It's nice. You're fighting Chronicoms, May goes out, comes back with the power that you need. Let's go with that. Actually, speaking of convenient, why don't we just move right on over to Nathaniel and the little bit there with Daisy. Look, I have to say, I really like Nathaniel. Okay, look, give me a moment. He's nasty, she's evil, he's dark. Sure, he's a Malik. He's totally up to no good. Torturing Daisy to steal her powers. Definitely willing to do more. Totally. I'm not saying he's a nice guy by any means. But from a character, God, I love his interaction. I mean, again, just, look, it's not an excuse for a character to acknowledge a coincidence if that coincidence is just driving, writing, and story. Him walking in just as she wakes up and mentions Nathaniel, and he's like, no, man, don't call me this. Wow, and that was coincidental. What timing on that? Okay, very nice. again, just acknowledging it doesn't necessarily forgive it, but in my book, it gives it more of a pass. I appreciate it. And really only because, like I said, from a character standpoint, Nathaniel seemed to carry that out. Even his whole direction, accused of being Hydra. What, Hydra? Look at it. Look at this guy's suit. Does he look like this guy works for a living? He doesn't worship a tentacle monster. He's not the religious type. The way that he was just sort of messing and poking and prodding at Daisy, there was such a relaxed acceptance of his own position. There was a comfort to it. And from a character standpoint, I would love to see more of that type of character. That is someone who could be a really choice villain. If we see him again. Maybe the Maleks seem to be persistent throughout here, and sure, he is not technically dead. Maybe we just saw things fall on him, but also let's talk about apropos poetic justice right there. Okay, I don't think that he has permanent powers. I think it was just maybe a passing thing. He doesn't take that much from Daisy. Doesn't slice her up. When he was talking about Whitehall's whole bit, considering what had happened to his mom, to Daisy's mom, I was assuming slice and dice. What did he say? What did Whitehall say? I took everything or none of it, or was it what, that's what her dad said. They took like everything from her, which I'm assuming was like most organs, and that's why she was scarred and why it takes so long for her to sort of heal back up before she blew up and got thrown into the ocean. So I was assuming this was going to go sort of hardcore. He sort of did the light bit. What did he say? Took some blood, took some spinal fluid, some glands. But then he said no knives. He just went from needles for knives. So when he said glands, I'm assuming probably glandular fluid and not the actual glands. You have to do surgery and such to get into those types of things. So also, it seems sort of an easy port for it. I would assume, I mean, with Whitehall and how much that he did, and I could get how he would sort of absorb Quake's mom's healing powers and everything. Sorry, names for leaving me. So I expected that to be maybe a little bit more before he was able to get powers. However, sure, be careful what you wish for. You get the Quake powers, you don't know how to control the Quake powers. Certainly wasn't good with Daisy in some of those initial days. Breaking of bones and things. So yeah, his skeleton pulverizing, earthquake stuff falling on him. Maybe dead, maybe crushed. Again, poetic, but we might see him again. I don't think he should have powers. I don't think he should have gotten enough with that small amount of time. Fluids and stuff. Again, surprising he got anything out of it. But now that there's a taste, if he is still alive, that could definitely be problematic because there are other Inhumans outside of Daisy on the planet. Alright, well, we finally got our answer to the whole Jemma question. What is going on with her memory? What is going on with the glowy thing in the back? Now, we don't answer the time question necessarily. But at least it does clear up something. Is basically, it's an implant named Diana that Jemma has so lovingly named. She's sweet, and they're inseparable, literally. Basically an implant that Jemma made in order to suppress her own memories. And my assumption is it's working quickly. It is undetectable. When it did seem to be properly activated at the end of the episode on the little machine, you had seen the trace of the implant up into her brain, and then it sort of disappeared. So I'm assuming working properly, the Chronicoms wouldn't be able to detect it, and therefore wouldn't be able to remove it and expose those memories. But that is what that is. However, it has been acting up. Why? Again, more information we'll find out more. Is it because Enoch couldn't properly attune it? Is it from the time-traveling thing? Is this something else? Probably something else. We'll find out. But because Diana was acting up, Jemma was starting to forget the things that she should know, like how the ship operates and things like that, and remembering things she shouldn't know, specifically where Fitz is. Which is why she has the implant, because she knows where Fitz is, and if she ever got captured and the Chronicons would go in, she could give up that information. So we got the, I'm assuming, undetectable implant that will keep the Chronicons from accessing that part of her memory. Yes! That seems to be the case. Where is Fitz? In some place where they can watch the Chronicons. I'm assuming either the far-off future, where he can watch everything that has already happened in the Chronicon past. That would seem to be the case. Or some time null point where all things are possible and stuff. I don't know, think Event Horizon, like the Event Horizon in Interstellar, the bookcases and McConaughey, and that's where Fitz is trapped. Fitz is trapped behind the bookcase, looking for Murph. That would be sad. So at least we got that all sort of figured out, which was nice. Of course, that wasn't a particularly easy path, being, well, at least not an easy path for Enoch, who, while trying to fix Jemma's implant there, was, of course, discovered by Deke, who thought that he was therefore, a spy, traitor, Chronicom traitor, and then powers him with the paddles. Yeah, okay, that's no good. Not starting his heart. Chronicoms don't have hearts, just knocked him out, thank God. Didn't damage him too much. That would be painful. Now, on the plus side of this, though, at least Enoch got a proper apology by Deke, and more to the point, was fully accepted and acknowledged as an important member of the agent's family. Which I thought was beautiful. So it was very sweet for Enoch there at the end. That is one of the greatest things that could have ever been said to me. I love Enoch. Just part of the family. That's all he wants, man. He just wants that acknowledgement. He wants to be part of the family. And not left behind again. Please don't leave Enoch behind. So Phil accepts his superpower. The power of dying. In this episode. Well, it's a nice kind of some moment from his discussion with Sybil, which, again, was awesome. I loved him descending down. I loved him climbing in. I love their interaction. Sybil, from the Chronicom standpoint, why not answer everything truthfully? It won't really make a difference. Phil, with the Phil personality, seeing how fun that would be. It was sort of a cool interaction. It was a great way for Phil to get intelligence, figure out what's sort of going on the Chronicom side, and have that awesome human summation standpoint. What is the difference between Chronicoms and humans? Time, from the Chronicom standpoint, limited for humans, makes them mortal. They're going to die, therefore they'll make emotional choices in order to stay alive. Chronicoms don't die, therefore better. Guess really what it comes down to it. Less fleeting, is I believe what Sybil had said. To which Phil lovingly and awesomely pro-human provides, no, it's about sacrifice. Limited lifespan means sacrifice means something. The fact that they can die means every sacrifice has a high cost. It is appreciated. It has an impact. Also, humans don't give up. We'll never get off the fight. And Phil. Kind of a fun little summation. A great, especially considering as a build-up from the previous May conversation about him not dying. He always comes back. This is Phil embracing that. You know, I used to be afraid of dying. I haven't been afraid of dying for a very long time, I think is what he actually says. It's kind of my superpower. Yes, dies the Avengers. That death brings the Avengers together, goes on to form the team. Dies at the end of that. Mack becomes the leader, starts things off. He comes back here to help the team again. And now he can once more die and sacrifice to humanity, stopping the Chronicons. It was a perfect sort of summation. And I love that he grabs the radio and talks up to May there at the end. You know, I found the ship. I hope you're right about the next part, that he always comes back. Boom! Not afraid to die. Knows what the sacrifice is. Means something about that conversation. It was just sort of a great hurrah moment. And would have been my scene of the week, except it just is. I mean, it's just a big hurrah moment. The other one, there's some structure and stuff going on. There was examples I wanted to sort of share with. But this was awesome. Definitely a great payoff for this little arc. And I'm pretty sure not the last we'll see of Phil. And Mack. I want to leave Mack for last because it does perfectly transition into our epilogue and final scene. Thought it would be the best way to leave all of this. Yeah, I love Mack sort of throwing it down straight off. I'm sure sort of the anger of his parents and having to sort of give up the ship and blow up the rocket and the plan all sort of changing up, that contributed to his emotional state. Definitely Deke shooting Wilfred and just straight out admitting it. I shot him. I killed him. He was causing ripples. The heck with him. You know, Nazi, Hydra, all that stuff too. But I love Max's sort of just anger, just throwing him down. That wasn't your orders. You're not a thing. I am the director. This is the way that things are going. And Yo-Yo ready to go with. You know, we know it was a trap. I'm going with you. Not leading him by himself. I love the two of them back together. Let's see more of it. But really this, again, most of this arc is, of course, him dealing with his family, connecting in. We don't see a whole lot more. I mean, there's a brief little talk of him and Yo-Yo on the plane. And then the next shot is they have broken in. They get to the family. He runs up to give Mom a hug. Come on, man. Really? I mean, I know that you're happy to see him and you're happy to see Mom, but... And then this is... Look, I appreciate them giving Mack this arc. And yeah, we do have a great sort of twist at the end. The problem that we always have with these types of things with time travels, these little family meetups, is we've all seen pictures of our parents and our grandparents, and some of us are older enough, we see pictures of our sons and even kids if they grow up a little bit. There's always strong family resemblances, okay? Me and my brother, you know that we're family standing next to each other. Even my sister, you're going to point out, boom, boom, boom. Lately, she's a little better looking than me. But you always recognize families. I mean, you can look at my dad, and I can see me in there. So whenever we have these sort of meetups, and it's like, I don't really recognize. You would be like, are we family? Do you know Cousin Bob? Is there something? You look like my dad. In fact, you look like my husband, oddly enough here. There's a resemblance. And we never have that. Very rarely does that sort of play in. So it's one of the things that sort of frustrate, especially calling Mack and theirs and personalities. Personalities are kind of set as kids. When people grow up, it's eerie to see little them, if you knew them long enough, inside big them. You could suss it out. So the fact that Mack and his brother are alive, to an extent, especially since Mack remembers this holiday, it's hard for me to maintain that suspension of disbelief sometimes in those moments. I guess that's all where I'm getting to. Now, we do realize, of course, at the end that these are Chronicoms. And again, we have sort of an arc within this where there's sort of, we get that family bonding, the parents, son, oh, the door block's down, oh, I can use sort of a vehicle comparison, obviously, connection with dad. Oh, yeah, like a brake caliper, and we get in, we have our discussions, we get our, family moments in there, and that's kind of cool, it's trite, it's expected, but a cool moment. However, a lot of these moments are done out because of the doors have closed in order to secure and lock down the base. Now, Matt does say, we want to land before they lock down the base, and then we'll be in, and then we got to find a way out. So they have sort of give a line to it. But as the whole opening sequence goes with the very cool little Chronicom X-Men time opening there, talking about things and then launching out, and then we get the discussion inside of the lighthouse about the advanced targeting that they have. Then we go back into the ship. Then we see Mack talking about, yelling at Deke, and then getting in the plane, and then going back to the lighthouse to land. And the next shot is we have, what's his name? Or within that, we've got Stoner seeing the base locking down. There's a lot of time that sort of happens all around there. It gets sort of kind of weird. And also, if it is the Chronicom computer that is locking the base down, what I'm getting to is, why would they keep the fake family from getting back to the Zephyr? If the Chronicom fake Mack's family can get on the Zephyr, they can explode things, damage things, kill the enemy, all that fun stuff. It seems to be in the plan to get them there as fast as possible. Why slow them down? I don't know. Maybe it's just an automatic system, and that's part of the thing that they have to get back. It's a small little thing that I thought about afterwards. The delay, it brings character connection, but it also seemed entirely unnecessary. But of course, ultimately at the end, May uses her powers, discovers that the parents aren't actually his parents, and that was a really painful turnaround. Not just the dad, but the dad and the mom, and they have to do the evil, yes, I ripped his skin off, and I bored him alive, and I'll do the same to you. The standard villain sort of talk, which doesn't help things. Then he's got to throw his mom out the back of the plane. That's all painful. I can understand it being hurt after that. I don't know how they're going to end up fixing the time stream at the end of all of this, because everything is definitely whacked up. But I understand Mack being a little upset, needing some time to get away. Gets on his bike as soon as they time jump, land. I just need some time. I'm assuming he looked at the clock and realized how much time that they had. And initially, probably a lot. I'm assuming in that epilogue scene, something went wrong. The Chronicoms did some stuff again and made another quick jump. I guess where it comes down with me is, why did he take his bike to go like 100 yards away from the Zephyr? Because he didn't seem to be gone a really long time. I mean, I don't know, maybe he drove around and then came back and parked. But it's like he drove out, went like down a long driveway depth and then stopped right there. Just walk off. Do you need your bike? It's going to play at the next episode. And again, I'm sure stuff just went wrong. I'm glad that at least Mack has Deke with him. They can have some little bonding moments. That's going to be weird next week. That's all I was thinking is, you didn't go that far, man. Why did you take the bike? Could have just walked out to stretch your legs or go somewhere, at least. I mean, I guess you need Deke out there, but still. Alright, just a couple of small things. One, let's give it up for General Rick Stoner. I mean, okay, he's a little dense, he's a little slow, but when he comes over to you on your side, man, he's appreciative. He acknowledges when he's wrong. Really, Patrick Warburton, always a blast to see. Just loved him. Loved his frustration at the beginning. I'm in charge here. I'm the one that orders things as the whole system goes wrong with him. His sort of back and forth with Phil there. And even more to the point, when he gets saved, immediately pop back, I believe you! Just doesn't throw away. And even get the emotion. These were good men. He's looking over the pile. So, I mean, again, not a lot going on with the character. Definitely more of a comedic point playing from Patrick Warburton. And works. But we also get a little depth. We get some, some good fun with that, too. It's not just one-dimensional. So I sort of appreciated that. Even his appreciation at the end. I loved how, with the conversation with May, that seemed to have set up in a way to correct at least what happens with the lighthouse from the time stream and stuff like that. So I love the hydrogen disaster and stuff like that. That was kind of fun. Also, I think you may have a thing for May. We don't know what emotion that he was feeling when he shook May's hand, but her reaction was definitely keeping it down. So I think he appreciated her help. I got a little technical detail on how the time jumping with the Zephyr works. Basically, the time thing and cables out that's wrapped around the machine. So if those blow out, only part of the Zephyr would jump and the rest would crash and explode. So good to have that fixed. That's important. I love really Deke's response with the unspoken look at that. It was like, what is that? Or more to the point, how's it going to kill us? He knows exactly where things are going. And I appreciate that about Deke. Got a nice war story from Daniel. I appreciate the fact that he is sticking around. His connection there with Daisy. I think that that's good. Soldiers surviving, helping each other through. I love that. Not much of a story. I was expecting something kind of bigger, I guess, when they had set it up. And that was pretty quick. Just talkative guy kept talking to him, and that's what kept him going. I mean, not a bad story. I guess everyone was expecting some kind of Captain America, weren't we? We were expecting some big thing, not just some talky guy saving his life. Though, much more likely, realistic in that sense. Another great Enoch line, prepare yourself for extreme G's. It was fun. Also, another beautiful effect shot by Mark Kopak there with all of the chaff flying off the Zephyr as the missiles come in. He tweeted out a little photograph sneak peek of that the other day, which was awesome. So I was kind of looking forward to that in this episode. And as usual, he does not disappoint. The Chronicoms are definitely adapting at dangerous levels. They've assimilated humor. Or bad humor, at least. Dad humor, kind of. Specifically when General Stoner is upset that even his face is betraying him. Their response, we'll remove your face ASAP, sir. As they're dragging him down to remove his face. Funny! In a sad way. I'd tell that joke. I'm that kind of guy. Oh, and real quick, I know there's been a little debate of what was in the envelope that Wilfred gave Yo-Yo. She pulled out the picture. I know most people think that it is a picture of Mack's parents. Possibly, I guess we'll never know. She definitely knew it was a trap and knew that she had to go there with Mack, so that would seem most likely. I would just be surprised that she would actually recognize Mack's parents, especially from when he was a kid. I mean, maybe you've seen photos over there, I guess, but anyway, we just have to assume that that's what the case was, I guess. If I'm wrong, I admit it. All right, so, yeah, I think that pretty much covers everything. So, yeah, jump forward to 1982. That's where Mack and Deke get left behind as the ship makes another emergency jump and disappears. So next week, we go all 80s in this, back into the lighthouse with Mack and Deke, and apparently Phil Coulson returning in a whole Mack's headroom kind of situation. It's right, man. He just doesn't die. He just keeps going and going. So that will be very weird to see next week, but exciting. I think this is sort of a perfect break. That seems to be maybe the little breath of fresh air we're all going to need after the heavy stuff from this week. But that will wrap us up for now. Thank you, as always, for joining me with these reviews. And if you enjoyed it, please go ahead and hit that like button. Thoughts, ideas, and comments, throw those down in the section below. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode. Did everything fill out perfectly well for you? Did you feel like anything was left short? Did you want to see a little bit more of Nathaniel? And what do you think is going to happen? How do you think Phil survived? Throw out your guesses. Throw those down in the comment section below. You can always catch me on Twitter and Instagram. I am at Darren Jakes. Also, fans of S.H.I.E.L.D., our weekly live discussion about all things S.H.I.E.L.D., specifically this week's episode, and more. This week is our special fan episode. That means that if you join us live, Well, you can join us live. Actually, be on the show, be part of the discussion. We're going to send out links so fans can come in, be part of the chat, share your questions, share viewpoints back and forth. It'll be a whole fun thing, and definitely lots of stuff to cover. This week. So should be a blast. And once again, that is on Friday, 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific with myself, Don, Willi, and Rob Stone. So will be a blast. Don't miss that. And you know, if you're a subscriber, you won't miss it. You do that by hitting this button right here. And we'll go up and we'll go ahead and throw up, there we go, a couple of our latest reviews right here for you to check out. So that's going to be it for me. I'm D, and I'm out of here. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.